It's showtime. What's up, everybody? This is your boy, Marcus Aurelius. Keep it 100. Back again for another one. What's going on, people? Pardon my eating and shit, but I am human. And today I am joined by my man.
What up? What up?
All right. This is the good doctor, Green Gorilla, G with the PhD.
What's happening? What's happening?
Mm-hmm. My nigga, if you don't get no motherfucking bigger. And we
That's
are
right.
here.
I said that's right.
Right. So this one is called Falling on Swords. Now, shout out to a couple of people. My man Jermaine Anthony Clark. He's, this discussion was inspired by Jermaine Anthony Clark and Okacha Phillips. Falling on Swords. So just in case people don't understand falling on swords, the term, or kamikaze. All right, I'm gonna just break it down for you real quick. Falling on the sword is kind of like an act of, honorable suicide, right? That I think is what samurais, right? Samurais do. Either it could be either they've been dishonored or it's an honor action. Is you're killing yourself for honor or for lack thereof. And kamikaze was a group of Japanese pilots, I think in World War II, who would deliberately crash their planes into American ships, or just into American shit. They went into war planning to die for their country. I was just explaining to a friend of mine the difference between American soldiers and soldiers in other countries is that American soldiers plan to come home. They get the GI Bill and, things like that. And that implies that they're being sold a future alive. You understand? But in other countries, especially the ones that we've lost wars to, they go into war understanding and knowing up front that they're not going home. And their death usually serves as a service of honor to their family or to their country or to their religion, such as the case in, the Islamic faiths and things like that. What we have adopted in Black American culture is an ideology of kamikaze when it comes to Black men. And Black men, in order for them to gain any sort of honor, respect, or esteem, they have to die either a literal death or figurative one, in one way or another. And that is the highest honor or respect you can achieve. Someone said that what we have in the Black community is queens and soldiers. We don't have kings and queens. We have queens and we have soldiers. Okay, so you got the queens that run it, and you have the soldiers that are willing to die for it. All right, give up your interests, your agenda, your dreams, your aspirations, or even your whole life in service of the queens or the community, which is pretty much the same thing. The queens are the community. And that will be your only way to gain honor and respect. So now I'm going to turn it over to the accredited and never discredited G with the PhD. He's
Yeah.
going to kick it for us a little bit, and I'm glad to have him on here. What say you, bro?
Yeah, I think that there's an element of truth in what you say. Sorry, man, I'm outside exercising right now, but I always got time for you. So, look, the self-sacrifice of men is extremely exaggerated in the Black community as being emblematic of real manhood. And look, I get it to some extent. You know, men have always served as a first line of defense to protect women and children. You know, in any culture, any civilization, any society, men are the ones who do the dangerous work. Men are the ones who take the bodily risk when it comes to invasion and war. You don't see women picking up spears, women pulling out guns. It's primarily the men that do this. If there's a dangerous job to be done and it can lead to your life and limb being exposed to harm, typically it's men that are doing that work, okay? So we understand it, we get it to some degree, but that's episodic. It's not something that's ongoing and something that has to occur perpetually in order to gain or to receive respect from the community or from women in different cultures. And then you would think that because men often do play this kind of role, that they would be entitled to certain forms of respect related to the sacrifices that they make. But instead of being honored for these kind of sacrifices, because let's face it, man, when it comes to racial oppression in the United States, it's Black men who are who are mostly bearing the brunt of that animus. So when it comes to incarceration, it's us. When it comes to extrajudicial police killings, it's us. When it comes to, you know, the way the prison to school, the school to prison pipeline works, it's us. Boys. Dropout rates, boys. Black boys. So we're the ones taking all these hits, but we're expected to be like, you know, shields with no minds, no ambitions, like you said, no desires of our own, just total self-abnegation. And it's about time for that to stop here, buddy. It's about time for that shit to end. That's what I have to say about it. I mean, you know, at some point, some reciprocity has to be shown. You have to, receive something for imparting something. But we're not receiving anything for anything that we impart. We're not getting anything back. So the reciprocity, I think, is the thing that's missing. And until that is restored, then you're going to continue to see men pull themselves back and to retract from situations in which they find themselves with women, especially Black women. It's a hell of a thing, man, to have to be self-abnegating perpetually. The burden is too much to bear. The load is too heavy, and there's no reward in it. So that's my initial opinion about this. And I do think the suicide jihadi analogy, the Kamikaze analogy, the samurai soldier analogy is fitting. We have to be self-abnegating perpetually, and it's having an adverse effect and impact on our psychology, or our emotional well-being, and our physical health. I mean, because it's just ongoing. There's no reprieve.
Yeah.
There's no reprieve. And the thing that's most telling about it, man, that Black Lives Matter shit pissed me off, man. So you mean
That's
to tell
the next
me,
place I was going with it. Go ahead.
man, yeah, that shit really pissed me off, bro, because you've taken a situation in which Black men should be the voice. Black men should be, the ones at the forefront of this issue because they're the ones primarily affected and impacted by it. But instead of us having the mic and having the voice, you got a group of people who are using ideological premises in order to advance their own identity politics at at our expense. So we die, and the spectacle of black male death is a catalyst for other people to get paid. And so brazenly so, to the point where it's like, they told us to be quiet. Like, you know, like, I mean, you saw the shit that Ice Cube endured, man, when he came up with his little black plan for America. Those women were like, shit, those women basically were like, fuck, we not cooperating with you, bro. We don't want to, our issues are different than yours.
He didn't know what he was getting into.
But I mean, at some point, he has to be aware, and other men have to be aware. But see, men are behind the curve on this issue because they're just now catching up to what's been going on in the academy and in these, you know, these organizations, what's been going on for 40, 50 years, ideologically. So now all of this stuff is just now surfacing. It's like, I don't know, I guess it's like a herpes outbreak, dog, like where the shit, you know, it nests, and then, you know, it just, it's not visible, but it's there, and then it just outbreaks. Now the shit is breaking out, and people can see what's actually going on. But this shit has been like hidden in certain, you know, areas or pockets of our culture for a long period of time, and now people are just now becoming aware, and they're speaking ostentatiously like these talking points are the gospel. And,
I mean, I wouldn't. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead, bro.
I wouldn't say they were hidden. I just think that they were forbidden to be spoken about. And you know, again, we don't run the community. So the largest voices, especially in recent history, have been female. If you think about this, right? I remember there was an issue over, you know, people were complaining about the Black Power movement back in the day being run by men, right? But think about this, right? And I don't know if I've heard anyone say what I'm about to say. When men did run the Black Power movement, what did we have? We had kids in school, free lunch program, things of this nature, right? Building a community. When men ran the Black Power movement back in the days, you know, we talk about the same men that were eventually either exiled, murdered, incarcerated for life, and things of this nature. And there was an outcry that there were no women running the Black Power movement at a certain point, right? Somebody's calling me. Yeah, so you know, there was an outcry that, you know, that women didn't have any power positions in the Black Power movement of the 60s and 70s and things like that. Well, fast forward to the future. So now we have BLM and, you know, these other situations where women are the faces of this movement. Now, of course, they want Black men to still be the foot soldiers getting pepper sprayed and hit with rubber bullets, but they are the founders and the CEOs of, at this point in time, the most prominent Black Power movement activist brand in America.
Yeah, I get it.
Where are the free lunches? Where is the community support payback? Where's money for funerals for these dead men that you're collecting money off their names? Where's all the things that the Panthers and the other, you know, male power, you know, Black Power leaders did? See, the thing is, in our culture, women are not required to give to community. They're only required to give to themselves. We raise women to do for self. We raise women to be self-sufficient, to take care of themselves. We raise men to take care of everyone. We say, take care of everyone, take care of the community, take care of the women, take care of the children, and ignore yourself. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. But you know, yeah. So what you have there is an imbalance. Like, look, I told you, like you work out, right? You exercise, correct?
Absolutely.
That's something. So just imagine that, you know, that you're preoccupied with working on your right arm, and you curl like a motherfucker with your right arm. I mean, you
Right.
know,
Yeah.
that's what you do. You know what I'm saying? Because you like to look at, you like to hold your right arm and flex that motherfucker, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you don't do the same corresponding workout on your left arm, you're gonna, first of all, it's not gonna look right. It's not. Then you're gonna be imbalancing your body. You're gonna have all kind of issues and problems. Or another analogy is, let's say, for example, you're a pump jockey. You go to the gym and you never do legs. You just never work on legs. You just work on your upper body. You love chest day. You love back day. You love shoulder day. But you never take your ass into the gym and you never do legs. You never get on the squat rack. You never get on the leg extension machine, the leg curl machine. You just never do it. But then you want to go out there, you want to go to the beach and you put on your, you know, your little shorts and your legs look like pencil sticks,
Yeah.
but you look
Mm-hmm.
like He-Man about your upper torso. So that creates an imbalance. That's bad for your health as well. You understand what I'm saying? So it's like, and that's just an analogy. It's not like the most, profound way of explaining this issue. But the whole point is, if you want to look at a community, you have to consider and factor in the interest of every group within the community. You can't just look at what's best for one group of people within it. But I think that, you know, we've gotten used to this. This is the, you know, this is a reflection of Western European chivalry, man. That's all this shit is. Okay,
Uh,
and in and
mhm.
of itself, chivalry is connected to patriarchy, and it works to the extent to which men are actually honored in a patriarchal sense. But like, it doesn't work when you know, in this context. It just doesn't work. I'm gonna give you the mic.
So what's happening is we're being told, just for the sake of our manhood or being called men, that these things are worth doing for no, like you said, for no benefit, for no reciprocation. See, what's being forgotten is there's a unwritten contract that we're supposed to do these things and we're supposed to get things in return. What's happened is, you know, and I think we spoke on it on your live yesterday, and I didn't get to respond to the guy who said this, is that in 2021, what we have progressed to in society is eliminating men's roles in a lot of things as it relates to women. We have created a safe world for women. We have created a world where many of the things that women needed men for once upon a time are no longer a thing. We have, in a way, made our roles obsolete in many ways. This is why women can just go get some sperm and have the kid and all these things, and feel like she could do this alone. Once upon a time, they wouldn't have done that because it would mean they would starve to death and be homeless. But in 2021, they're comfortable enough to do it because we have eliminated the male role for much else. It's just like with us, you got men cooking their own food and living alone and things like that. We have eliminated our need for each other. But the thing is, in the hood, there are still things that women either need or want men for. They say, "Oh, we don't need men." Well, yeah, until you do, right?
Right.
And usually, being a man or being masculine or being, like you said, a quote unquote real man usually comes in the form of taking some loss, taking some sort of L, or being in service to to women, which quote unquote the community, because in Black culture, women are the community. We don't talk about being in
Yeah,
service to
yeah,
other
yeah.
men. We don't like, you don't see anything about being in service to other men, helping the next brother out. Because at the end of the day, if men are to build the community, you have to build men. If a guy is not receiving support, if men are not being built into men that can support a community, then how can you expect him to do that? Is almost as if they're saying, well, we're going to build the women, and men should be man enough to build themselves without our help, so that they can then turn around and help the women we helped in the first place. That's so ironic. So you build the women, but the women don't build the
Well,
community. The men that you didn't build need to do it. So it's a double loss.
well, I think also this, I think this, yeah, I think this is also happening in the white community as well, though. I mean, when you look at, how white boys are performing in school, I mean, they may be doing somewhat better than black boys, but there's still a decline for males all across the board. I mean, in relation to preschool all the way up to college, man, they're graduating less and less. So it's a male phenomenon. And I don't know, man. I mean, I think the way to solve this issue is for black, especially black men, to begin to become aware of male issues and to push it for policy, and to just ignore black women and their demands, man. I hate to say this, but it's time for them. If you're the backbone of the community, as you say you are, it's time for you to use that bat to go get that water, to go dig that ditch. It's if you're the backbone of the black community, then act like it. I'm just saying, like, we got to start calling black women's bluff, man. But
I mean, but
ultimately,
yeah, go ahead.
But ultimately, bro, these women, man. Okay, so I point this out to students all the time. Like, we look at the society in which we live, and we think it's permanent. That the conditions which I obtain right now, it's all good, it's comfortable, but shit could change overnight. You don't know what can happen. Like the bonds and the equilibrium that keeps this thing going is tenuous. But we think that this is the future. Things will always be the way that they are. All it takes is a major catastrophe, like the virus. All it takes is a major event like another world war. All it'll take is like another financial bubble or another kind of depression that kicks in, and the circumstances will change, and the way that men and women interact will change.
Well, there's already proof for that.
But at the current moment, everything is still pretty much in equilibrium in the culture in which we live. I'm just saying, men are obsolete, because a woman doesn't need a man anymore. All she got to do is call the police. Okay? You talk about getting food, you don't have to have a man go out and hunt anymore. All you got to do is go to the grocery store. Okay? If you need something lifted, something moved, all you got to do is hire someone to do it. So you can rent a man. Okay? You don't have to have a man around that's just serving your needs, and you're reciprocating with some sort of service and honor back to that man. So it's a funny situation, man, because men are still required to be manly. Women are no longer required to be womanly. That's beneath them now. I mean, even reproduction, it's to the point where, when you start challenging gender norms and saying that, women can become men and men can become women, and you start to see this kind of phenomenon occur in the culture, that means that people are grabbing and reaching for identity because they have nothing to hold on to. So, are men obsolete in today's society? I would say to some degree, visibly, yes. But behind the scenes, men are making shit happen all day, every day. Men are the ones keeping the air. Men are the ones keeping the air conditioning units cooling and the heating units heating. We're the ones that build. We're the ones that clean out the plumbing, or make sure the plumbing is done, so people can have their showers and take a shit and not have to worry about, you know, the house smelling like a septic tank. We're the ones that build the buildings, to build the roads, to drive the cars. I mean, not the cars, but drive the rigs, to transport goods from point A to B. We're the ones doing it, okay? These women are working pretty much in, you know, comfortable conditions, man. Most of the work they do is service work. I'm not saying like, okay, nursing might be the most difficult, one of the most difficult things that they do, okay? But for the most part, man, women have service-oriented jobs because we live in a service-based economy. They not out here doing the back-breaking work, man, that keeps this shit going, the infrastructure of this country or any other country going.
You use
But
the
there's
word
no
I was going
honor.
to use.
But there's no honor there. I mean, they don't see it as being honorable. To them, what's honorable, I hate to say this, I'm not trying to knock Kevin Samuels at all, but what's honorable to them is a well-dressed motherfucker who could talk slick, but who really does nothing but service work themselves. You know what I'm saying? So, and that's considered masculine nowadays, the dandy. And I don't have a problem with people being dandies, you know, dressing up and looking like a certain, you know, figure, or, you know, to represent a certain idea, the business class or whatever the case may be. But look, bro, at the end of the day, man, the plumbers keep this motherfucker going, the iron workers, the electricians, the laborers, the crane operators, the truck drivers. They keep this motherfucker going, man. The bridge builders, they're the ones that keep this going, man. You know, the people who operate these cranes, the people on these barges, you know, making sure the goods get across the sea. They're the ones keeping this shit going, man.
So
Bottom
you said
line.
a word. You said a word. The men are the infrastructure. The men are the infrastructure. You know, the men are the. I got a video up called "The Tightening of Bolts" is on my page. Men are the nuts and bolts. You know, women think they are better than the men who have created their so-called independence. If the men walked away from the shit, it would turn into Planet of the Apes. Okay, it would turn into I Am Legend. You know,
Man, look,
weeds would grow up through the concrete, and the bridges would crumble and rust, and this shit would fall apart. And the thing is, I mean, but it's, like you said about Kevin Samuels or whatever, or the Kevin Samuels type, has always been that way. I was telling the girl, I said, listen, once upon a time, you women did not want to work because the only work that was available was the dangerous shit that we're talking about. You don't get to sit in someone's office on the 80th floor in a leather seat talking about how you better than the guy that built the building, the guy that made the chair you're sitting in, the guy that built the walls that you're sitting within, and with the lights and all the other stuff you mentioned. But when I talk about this idea of falling on swords, it's like, again, like, your whole existence is upheld by men you don't respect, men you can't see yourselves with. You understand what I'm saying? But it even goes into the whole proxy violence thing. When things go down, these are the things that women need men for. Like, they could call the police, but sometimes they call a brother, they father, they cousin, all these super tough guys that they enlist when they need them. They need men till they need them. So, and these are
they
guys
use
who,
men.
well,
They use men.
I think that
they manipulate men into doing their bidding.
Black women's attraction for street dudes, in my opinion, has more to do with the fact that these men have less to lose. You understand what I'm saying? They have less to lose. So when you got a man that has nothing to lose, there's not a lot you can't get him to do for you. there's not a lot that he won't, be down to, do at the risk of, throwing it all out the window, because there's nothing really to throw out the window. See, the guys that got shit going on, they got to think twice about what they finna do for some chick that, they want to enlist, as a soldier. Because a guy with shit to lose is less likely to be your soldier. You know what I'm saying? You might want to check that wind a little bit. We get a lot of wind here.
Yeah.
So
I'm
you
walking
got
back to the house now.
got you. So yeah, so you got these the guys that got more to lose. You know what I'm saying? They're less willing to be your soldier. Not only that, those guys who have it going on, I mean, we've heard women say that they want high value men, right? They do. They don't want the man, they want the value. So when the hate for Kevin Samuels and men like him come more from the fact that they're not ready to just hand their shit over. So it's not you got the guys that are not high value that are not good enough for you, and the guys that are high value who are good enough for you. They measure up to everything you're asking for, but you got to work for that shit that's being offered, or that shit that he has. Is not, it's good that he has what you're looking for, but it's bad that he just won't hand it to you.
Yeah. See, the way I see it is this, man. You gotta understand, man. These women have grown up thinking that they're entitled to have the shit that a man is able to offer, who has a good job and a career and has got his shit together. They feel like they're entitled to that. Like, and the funny thing about it is, even if these bitches, excuse my language, but even if they weigh 215 pounds, is 5 or 5'4", and built like, like a damn refrigerator, they still feel like they're entitled to a motherfucker that's 6'3", look like Idris Elba with a 10-inch dick. They still feel like they're entitled to that, just in virtue of being them. Okay? And it's what society teaches them that they're deserving of that makes them feel this way. I mean, I guess it's from childhood on up to adolescence, on up to adulthood, man. They've been told that there's some man that's going to come along and be their everything, and to make sure all their emotional, financial, and physical needs are attended to. That's why I put that alpha thing, like the picture. He's a king, provider, protector, and comforter. Like, who the fuck is all that, man? Who does all that? Who can do all that? I remember back in the day, man, you had Babyface, man. He had a song, man. He say he gonna pay the rent. He gonna wash our clothes. He gonna cook the dinner too as soon as he get home from work. Okay?
See, R&B was
like,
popular. Yeah.
But you gotta understand, man, dudes have been on this simp shit for a long time, but you're in culture to play your role in simp culture. You're taught. You gotta be self-abnegating for women. You gotta sacrifice your life. You gotta put your body up as a wall of protection for women. And that's cool.
R&B, yeah.
That's
I was
cool.
just gonna say R&B is like music porn for women, but go ahead.
But yeah, okay, but men do that, like, especially for like women that bear their children and who are faithful and loyal to them. So there's a natural inclination that men have to be protective of women in their own families and women who bear their children. You're going to protect yours, you know what I'm saying? Especially if that woman is loyal and faithful and has some sort of fidelity to you. But at the current moment, man, what you see is a group of women who have fidelity to nothing other than themselves. That's the issue that we're having. See,
well, we're having that issue because, again, these women are being taught by the generation before them. See, understand, right? The generation of women before this generation and the generation before that, they were in relationships with guys probably out of necessity, right? So like I was just discussing with one of my homegirls, like, yo, you go to these third world countries, you go to DR, any of these places, like, there's no feminism there. These girls, whether they be young or even older, they're with guys that they don't have any real attraction for. They're with them out of survival. They're with them out of necessity. You understand what I'm saying? So there was probably a time in America where black women were with men out of necessity. So you look at like The Color Purple. Steely didn't choose Mister, right? Right? And we always go back to The Color Purple shit, right? She didn't choose Mister. She was given to Mister, right? So you get that situation, right? And
Right, right.
we all know The Color Purple story, and we know how that ended. So these women are going to tell the next generation that their daughters, and their daughters are going to tell their daughters, the Mister, we are Mister. So the next generation,
Would
they
you,
don't want that for that new generation of women. They want that new generation to turn their nose up, especially when the new generation will have things that the old generation didn't have. So they'll push and they'll work and they'll bust their ass for that new generation of females to get educated, to get this and get that, so they can have the freedom, perceivedly, that they didn't have. So, that's what they're handing to the next generation. And they're raising their sons like a Harpo. Like, look at Harpo. You understand what I'm saying? They're raising weak boys because they don't want misters. You understand what I'm saying? So they raising weak boys for that reason and other reasons. I mean, we know the history of why, a lot of black women raised their boys weak because, the slave master and all of that shit. But, the other thing is, even today, because, the slave, at least the overt slave master is long gone. They're raising their boys to be in service of these women because what they're trying to create is a situation that either they didn't have, or their grandparents didn't have, or their grandmother didn't have. These women removed the male influence from the home for this purpose. So they're creating boys that are kamikaze pilots for whatever women that they end up with, or whatever community that they grow up in. These are soldiers. These are um drones. These are empty shells of men who are just there for the express purpose of, I guess, what would be considered female empowerment. Now, let's talk about female empowerment for a second. I have zero issues with female empowerment if it empowers the collective. But female empowerment for its own sake is bullshit. All right? It's bullshit. Female empowerment for its own sake is bullshit. So you empower the women, and they don't in turn empower anything. They don't do that. When you empower men, you get community. And I've said this, to you, and I've said this to others. Community is a male invention. Only men want community. Community is not a female thing. It's not a female thing.
okay.
Community is a male invention. If you could give women everything they need without the community, they'll take it. And there's evidence of that, and we're seeing that today. Right? You give women their freedom to move and do what they wish, and you give them the resources that they will get in community, they will trade that for community. And they've done it. They've done it. He said, homie is washing dishes. You washing dishes, bro? So,
Yeah, I got shit. I got to. I ain't got no woman to wash the motherfucker. Shit.
hey man,
You know what I'm saying? So I mean, at the end of and I choose not to have a woman, man. Let me put it this way. So, like, I don't have a problem with women being empowered either. You know what I'm saying? And I just don't, man. I don't have an issue with women doing what they want to do and how they want to do it, but motherfucker, you got to deal with the consequences associated with that shit. You know, I said this a long time ago, man. I think I was the first one that I heard say it. I can't coin the phrase and copyright it, but like I said before, women want the rights of men, everything get, and the privileges of women, and the responsibilities associated with neither fucking role, man. That shit cannot persist. It can't maintain itself. It can't be sustained. So what you want, and then like to them, being empowered means being able to have a job, okay? Being able to have a career, which to me is wrongly associated with masculinity to begin with, okay? Like this whole provide is not masculine at all. But I'm gonna talk about, you know, this afternoon.
Shout out to Dr. T. Johnson. I think your signal is
careerism, and why I think careerism is just it's not.
I think you're saying we losing you, man. You got a signal issue. Quick shout out to T.S.I. Johnson.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. I just wanted to throw out a quick shout to T.S.I. Dr. T.S.I. Johnson, who just shared the video here. Not only that, I just realized he's doing a live also. I did not mean to go up against Dr. T.S.I. Johnson with a live broadcast, but shout out to him and shout out to BGS. So no, but I hear what you're saying, man. You know, I hear what you're saying, man. You know, it's almost we don't have to trade male empowerment for female empowerment or vice versa, right? We don't have to trade one for the other. The problem is we have to work together in harmony. They can't work like one can't get sacrificed for the other. And I feel like male empowerment or black male empowerment
hold on.
Community. Female empowerment is not a communal thing. It's not a communal thing. Which one of these you want to keep up, man? Let me mute that one. You there? Yeah, so female empowerment does not have to supplant male empowerment, especially when you want men to provide and protect. What this tells me is that because if you give, you know, when you give women resources and you give them a way to, you know,
and then I tried.
Are you there? When you give women a way to survive on their own and eat on their own, and they, you know, toss men to the side for those things, it leads me to deduce that the resources were the plan all along. Shout out to T.S.I. Johnson. He's in here, man. He's in here. So, matter of fact, I might send him the link because I've never had the doc on one of my lives. But what I'm saying is when you do that, you're pretty much saying that the man was never the goal. It was always the resources, right? So what has happened is black men have become a middleman to the resources. So now that, you know, women, you know, they say secure the bag and, you know, secure the bag, sis, lock the bag in, you know, I get my own bag and et cetera, et cetera. You're basically saying that the only reason you dealt with us in the first place is to get the resources, to get the house, to get the, you know, the money to buy your Birkin bags or whatever was the Birkin bag of the day, right? So once you replace us, the only, you know, for that purpose, the only thing left is for us to play security guard for the police that won't get there on time, or, you know, you want us to play attack dog, because you can't get the police to just, you know, attack someone just out of the blue or whatever the case may be, unless you make up some lie. you can get your attack dog attacked, but you know, at the end of the day, like I said, these guys that are willing to, you know, fall on the sword for you, they are more so in proximity and at the ready than, you know, the state or whatever the case may be. But, you know, again, we're being raised with this ideology. We're being taught this by the same women who are raising us. You know, and that's where you get your simps. It's hard. It's very hard to get guys to form any sort of united front or anything like that when most of them are of the belief in the indoctrination that the women are above them. You have a lot of guys who really believe that. They really believe that they are less than the women who are ready to throw them to the dogs. Super facts. You understand what I'm saying? So, you know, when you're trying to get these guys, you know, to, I guess, escape their kamikaze or their, martyr mentality for their own interests. Now, you know, and there's a generation that's connected to that because this new generation of guys is abandoning that totally. They're abandoning that ideology totally. And a lot of that has to do with social media and what they're seeing going on is becoming more and more and more blatant. It was something that's been apparent to me since I'm in like junior high school, and I should speak about it then when it wasn't too popular to speak on. But now it's all over the place. You understand what I'm saying? And the Dr. Umars and people like that are trying to, you know, shut this down in one way or another, or they're trying to monetize it by, you know, preaching the usual Hotep, you know, Black Mother Queen Goddess nonsense. But somebody has to check the other side of the game. There's an extreme imbalance. And it's like BGS said, the way you fix the Black community at this point is not to check the men, it's to check the women. You have to fix the women because the men have gotten their reality check. The men are told this, that, and the other all the time. We are held accountable more so. We are held accountable for shit that we ain't even do. It ain't our fault. But it's always been taboo to go at the women and criticize them for what they've actually done. And it's crazy that Umar, of all people, somebody who's, you know, trying to save Black boys, would turn around and defend the same women who tried to ruin him in public. We've watched this happen. We've watched Black women try to tear this man down. And men have come to his support. How dare you turn your back on us, bro? You know what I'm saying? In this context, I support a lot of the other things Umar is doing, but he's bugging out. He, in a way, is trying to fall on a sword with his recent actions. But go ahead, man. You there?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you good.
Okay, yeah. So I got on my computer, man. I'm back in the house. So I think that what you see is right now the interaction between men and women in culture at large and between Black men and women, which I think is exacerbated because I think BGS said a long time ago, when a white man's got a cold, the Black man has the flu. And that's Malcolm X, okay? But so the issue is Black women have been socially promoted, I think, to frustrate Black men. It's been that way since slavery, and you see it continuing now. And, you know, Umar Johnson, you know, he wants to be chivalrous. He wants to be considered an alpha male. He wants to be perceived by women as, you know, a protector, a provider, a solution-orientated Black nationalist. But look, back in the day, like at the heyday of Black nationalism, Black women were actually amenable to Black men having leadership positions in those movements and struggles. But today, what you have is this strange constellation between slave culture and feminist ideology, and it's created out of control black women, man. It's out of control. Their interests are not aligned with, as you say, community interests. Their interests are aligned with themselves. So it's about extreme individualism and subjectivism. It's about self-interest and egoism. It's about emotionalism, right? As opposed to future generations and what's good for the collective. And I think you hit the mark on that one. But at the end of the day, if women are going to have the type of men that they say they want, they're going to have to advocate for rights and advantages for black men. And at this current moment, they just don't have the intellectual capital or the know-how to actually make that occur or to bring that to fruition.
It's not what they want, bro. Let's just call it what it is. It's not. Listen, when black women go out and they get their careers, where the money go?
It goes to themselves.
Okay, so now black women are running,
or to their children, or to their children.
Or sometimes, because even black mothers tax their children too, especially their male children. So the other question is when black women run the black power structure and they collect money on it, where does it go? It goes to them. When black women collect money for the murders of their, dead sons, whether it be killed by police or, people pretending to be police or whatever the case may be, where does that money go? See, the funny thing is when black men marry interracially, the first thing black women say is, oh, that black man's money is going to the white community. But where does black women's money go? They go to the Asians and get their nails. They go over here and get their hair. They go to get Birkin bags and Louis Vuitton and this and that. So where does if I get killed and my money goes to my wife or whoever, she's not taking that money to the community. She's not building a community center. You're not doing that. You're going right back to the same people that you say my money will go to if I married out of the race. You're going to give it to corporate America. You're going to give it to the Asian nail shop or, or high fashion, designer, whoever. So this is disingenuous bullshit that comes with, you worried about where the money's going to go, because when you get money, whether it be from me or the money that you work for, you don't use it for community purposes. Evidence, BLM. Anytime we ask, one second, anytime we ask or anybody fix their mouths to ask, where is the BLM money going? How dare you, motherfucker? You get the because I said so answer. Be quiet because I said so. You don't get to ask me that. That is not our mission. Then what the fuck is your mission? To pay you.
No, I'm gonna tell you exactly. They told you what their mission was. I told you what BLM's mission was from the very beginning. They took it away from the website because I called it the Malleus Maleficarum. Okay, when Trump issued the executive argument against race and sex stereotyping, they removed the language from their page precisely because the language was going to prevent them from being able to procure governmental contracts. So that's why they removed the language.
Of course.
But the cornerstone of BLM is the Combahee River Collective Statement. It is what it is. They want to fight against heteronormativity, sexism, racism, and classism. I mean, that's the avowed purposes. What they expressly argue the content of their mission is. Okay. So what you saw them do was talk about Black trans women, and they brought their issues to the fore. This is what they did. They started, like, look at, if you reflect on, or if you look back on the ads and the promotional campaigns that they invested in, you saw a lot of Black trans women. Did you not? Or did you not see, you saw a lot of money being allocated to LGBTQ organizations in the Black community. So their whole issue is about minorities within minority groups. Even though the issue that's the springboard for them being able to allocate funds to these organizations, right? Or Black men's deaths, they deem Black male death as that very thing which is going to enable them to be able to speak to a mission that serves a higher purpose in their regard. That's just the way it is, bro. So you're right. Black men, or especially the Black male corpse, is a lottery. It's a meal ticket. Everybody can speak about Black male death and use it for their own purposes, except for Black men. That's it. And Black men need to be quiet because they've had too much of a voice because of their privileged position as males. I mean, ideologically, this is the way the narrative is presented. So, I know how they think, and that's why I tried to, tell Black men in the manosphere, a long time ago, what it was about. And I told you, I said, Black male death is the new Black lottery for mommies and for, subgroups within the Black race. It just is what it is. It is what it is. Okay.
I wouldn't even call it lottery. I say it's a ATM, cash register.
Yeah, but I just called it the lottery because, it's by chance that a random Black man will be shot and killed. And then, then you get Crump to come in and he's going to be the attorney. You get BLM and a whole bunch of, race hustlers to come in. They swoop and they're able to, get their own issues off and to be a voice or a face in social media outlets, which the media, conglomerates allow to, voice their opinions because it's what they invest in. It's what they have an interest in pushing a narrative about. Okay, Black male pathology and subaltern groups within the Black communities, grievances with the very people who are getting killed and oppressed the most in our culture. We got to change this. Only Black men can change this narrative. That's the reason why I wanted to do a documentary. That's it. So the Black men, because I felt like the stars were aligning. It was time for Black men, especially in the academy, to make a provocative statement. One that can't be denied given the context of what's actually occurring in our culture. But the vision of Black men in the space, I don't know. I guess it's this space is just a therapy hangout place. I hate to say that. It's a place where men come to be entertained and to vent emotionally about what's going on and to not actually pull their sleeves up and to actually get anything done.
What you got to understand is, and I'm gonna read this comment. All right, so all I want to say is beware of opportunists and activist clothing who are always outraged over dead Black men while having nothing but contempt for living ones. That was Terrain Walker on Twitter. Understand that when and I'm not saying that this is a reason not to do what you just said, but understand that any movement made by us to undo anything that we're talking about right now is received as some sort of violent, resistant, militant bullshit, right? Even by our own women. Our women have at this point, and I'm not speaking for all, but I'm talking about the women who are responsible, have monetized our suffering and our deaths. They've monetized it.
Of course.
This shit is gonna go down in history in a very fucked up manner.
Oh, yes, it is. It is.
This shit will go down in history pretty crazy, to the point where you had, like you mentioned earlier, Ice Cube tried to step in, and they ran him off. They ran off Ice Cube, bro. Ice Cube. If for people from this generation who don't know who Ice Cube is or the history of Ice Cube, like, for him to be run off from a Black Power movement, and Ice Cube has been about Black Power since he's pretty much been in music. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, bro,
especially as a solo artist.
Let me just say this. The first person that came out and checked Black women and called them out on their bullshit was Shahrazad Ali. Absolutely. She's the first one to do it.
Yeah, on that level, yeah.
And she got a lot of press and a lot of publicity, and she pissed off a lot of Black women, especially a lot of Black feminists. Okay. And along with her, you had Brenda Werner. Okay. And you had a bunch of Black male scholars who are also critical of these positions taken up by Black feminists. Robert Staples. I can't remember the other brother's name. Not Adolf. I forget the brother's name, man. But it'll come to me at some point. But even the Fire Next Time. I can't remember anybody's name. I can't remember anybody. James Baldwin came out and critiqued some of the things that Black women were pushing in the culture. Okay, about Black men and the narrative surrounding Black men and their pathology and the contribution to the oppression of Black folks in the Black community, namely that they were sexist. So at the end of the day, man, we, like Ron O'Neal says, man, we have to protest this grotesque and ugly positioning.
I thought you was going to say we have to protest this grotesqueness. That would have been bars.
Yeah, Ishmael Reed. We have to, because I told you what all this is to me. And I coined the term racial hypergamy. This is what this is. It's a group of women, Black women, who understand their positioning in the context of white patriarchal culture. And they know the position that they have within it. And they know that there's currency to be gained from pathologizing Black men. They know that there are rewards to be reaped.
Well, I mean,
for the pathologizing of Black men. They know this. They know,
those rewards are being reaped in real time right now. And oh wow, we got the all-stars in the comment section, man.
Yeah,
we must protest this horror situation at all costs. We must lose the fear of confronting the wickedness of these women. Continue, bro. Continue.
And so, like one of the things that I tried to make express early on is that we have a narrative in Western culture that comes from Victorian England. This is a relatively recent phenomenon. This is not, because Western culture is a patriarchal culture, okay? But at some point during the Victorian era, okay, they had begun to argue that women were more virtuous and the more morally upstanding component of Western European culture. Western culture presented this archetype about women and their moral virtue, okay? But it's out of control now. And even feminists who argue for equality socially and politically, they want to maintain the vestiges of this so-called moral virtuousness and purity. But it goes against their own reasoning. It's contradictory. But of course, Black women are using white Victorian womanhood in order to advance their own goals and to posit themselves as being more morally virtuous than Black men in the Black community. Even though Black men, again, are the ones who bear the brunt of violence, of oppression, of exploitation, of manipulation, of cultural imperialism, the whole nine. So the question then is, what will Black men do to resist against this craziness? Now you got different, well, the manosphere is a perfect space, bro. Because at least Black men in the manosphere, devoid of the chicanery that takes place here from time to time, at least they have one thing in common. They understand that women can be conduits of evil and wickedness and violence and overall irascibility, no less than the behavior and the comportment of men. So this dichotomy where women are perceived as being the weaker vessel and who need protection and they need benefits related to the oppression, and that men don't need any help, any resources, any benefits at all. And so we have to resist against this. And I think Black men are poised uniquely in a way that white men are not, to make a statement about all of the things that are going on ideologically within the academy and popular culture now. We're in a unique position. But what will we do with the uniqueness of the position at this particular juncture in time? It's up to us. It's up to us to determine what we do.
We're putting it out there. Again, you know, you mentioned earlier the doc. You already know my feelings on that and my involvement. For those who don't know, G with a PhD is trying to put together a documentary, The White People of Black People. If you are not aware of that, I'm making you aware now, and I will post a link in the comment section of this video. If you got a link for me. Yeah, so we're trying to put that together. I'm involved with that with him, so I'm going to help him out because I believe in the project. And, you know, it's basically all the talking points that you hear us talking about on these videos on YouTube. Is no different than a hidden colors or something like that, before more for the topic that we're speaking on. And nothing like it has been done before, not on our behalf. And if that's something that you guys want to see put together, yeah, you know, help us out, man. You know what I'm saying? Help us out, jump on it, you know, help us put it together. So I agree with you. I think that nowadays with the platforms that we have, you know, even though we don't have the super mainstream platforms that these Black women get from, you know, Zaddy, we are still in a unique position to make this stuff known, especially for the next generation of men. In the same way that, you know, the great grandmothers and the grandmothers taught their daughters to go around the Black middleman to get the resources and secure the bag, we need to tell these young dudes coming up after us what's really happening, what's going on. And we kind of have to have them unlearn whatever they did learn from their moms, their mamas, or the women in their life that are teaching them to be the kamikaze pilot crashing into whatever on the behalf of the community, Black women, the gynocracy, whatever words we want to use, because we become cannon fodder. And, you know, again, these women are monetizing our deaths. They're monetizing our L's. We have to take L's to receive the title of man. You understand what I'm saying? We are being told by our women what men are. And
Exactly.
In order to earn that title, we have to be a sacrifice to them. Who the fuck are they to tell us what men are? You understand what I'm saying? We are probably the only culture that deal with this bullshit. You know, and there's a lot of other shit, like you said, in Western culture and in, you know, and even in this country, in, you know, the white community that is similar to what we're going through. But like you said, it's the flu versus the cold. You understand what I mean? And this is like the pervasive, prevailing thing. The prevailing belief is that we are here to serve and to expect nothing in return.
That shit has to stop. Like, men resist against this naturally, you know, because all men want is respect, fidelity, and loyalty. A man will move mountains for a woman that will exhibit loyalty and fidelity. But at the current moment, what we have is a situation where women are doing nothing that is discernibly faithful or anything that is remotely similar to loyalty. What we have is a group of women who have argued that they're better than their own men. They're innately, naturally better than we are.
Intrinsically.
We're regressive. Okay? Now, all I can say is I've seen some women do some pretty wicked shit. Okay? They're just like anybody else. They're human beings. They can be called out. They can be checked. They can be put in their place when they need to be. But, you know, this chivalry concept, this chivalry ideal has a lot of men who consider themselves to be true, authentic, and real men. It puts them in this, you know, this position to where they feel like they can't do anything to hurt or harm, you know, a woman's feelings. So you saw this with Umar, right?
Yeah.
Where he came out and he called, you know, Kevin Samuels and a host of other men in the Black manosphere beta men for daring to, you know, make Black women aware of reality. Namely that all men don't want you, boo. Especially if you got an attitude, especially if you're coming with baggage from other relationships, especially if you're coming with this attitude of, I'm here to be served and my value is just me being present.
Yeah.
This has to change. And I don't know how receptive. I mean, I know, you know, Kevin Samuels has a lot of women that follow him. And I know there are other men in the manosphere who have women who get it, who follow them. Okay. But there's a lot of work to be done, man, if we're going to turn this ship around. But it's like the Titanic. You can't turn it around quickly. It's going to take time. It's going to take, you know, a protracted struggle to reach parity and equilibrium again. But, you know, all I can say is, bro, I would caution any young Black man to become a father under these conditions. I would tell him what could go wrong because there's no checks. Another show that I feel like I want to do is a show about policing Black women's bodies. I think I'm gonna do that. I ain't gonna say I'm gonna do it next, but I think I'm gonna do it soon. Because the only way, you know, the only thing that Black men have at their disposal is their own actions and the disapproval socially of the actions of Black women. Because we don't have institutional power to check them. So the only strategy that men actually have is to say, look, leave them alone. As soon as they exhibit signs of disrespect, leave them alone. But we've been taught that this is something that we must endure to win the affections of a woman. You know, you got to continue to try. You know, she's going to act, you know, unruly periodically, and you just have to weather the storm. Man, cut her ass off like K Camp.
Well,
do like Too Short. Do like Orange Juice Jones. Leave them alone. Because these women can create a great deal of harm for you. They can set back your progress immediately. All they have to do is damsel, cry, and act as if they've somehow been subjected to some sort of inappropriate behavior from you. Whether it's violence, whether it is creepiness, whether it's sexual assault or misconduct, there's no end to this. So the strategy that men can use who are trying to make themselves improved in the context of this culture, man, is to leave their asses alone, especially if they show signs of being unruly and ignorant, violent and manipulative. You got to leave them alone. Alone. Yeah. Immediately.
We're in a culture, especially with the music, that women, especially black women, are now thinking that you know, being psycho and ratchet and all this other stuff, you know, cute but psycho and all this other shit, they think that it's positive attributes, and they, you know, they think that if you're a strong enough quote unquote man that you should be able to deal with this stuff. I want to make a point, right? Now, we know in this country we deal with racism, where it's basically you got white people who feel like black people shouldn't ask for anything. You should, you know, pull yourself up by your own bootstraps. But every time you try to do that, they put a bunch of obstacles in your way, and they watch you struggle, and they laugh at you struggling, and they laugh at you not, you know, being able to get to your goal because of the struggle that you're going through, because of the obstacles that they put in front of you. Now, that's something that white people do, right? I often find myself in conversations with black women where they take pleasure in hearing the struggles of black men, and they do things similar to white folks that place obstacles in your progress. Then they turn around and say, well, why you can't do this? Well, why the black man ain't this? Why the black man ain't conquer white supremacy? Or why the black man ain't get here or get there? And when you show them examples of successful men that actually have gotten to those places that are, you know, doing them and operating on their own self-interest, it's a problem. Let me tell you, the world hates a black man operating on his own self-interest. Okay? I don't care if it's black women, I don't care if it's white men or white women. Anytime a black man is operating on his own self-interest, because we celebrate independent women doing them. We celebrate that. We celebrate when they go to school. We celebrate when they get degrees. We celebrate when they get in money, and they take those things and think they deserve something in return. We look down upon men doing the same. If a man is acting on his own agenda, in his own self-interest, the world hates him. Okay? Someone has to own that free nigga. This nigga free. Put a chain on that nigga. Somebody put a chain on this nigga free.
Huh?
A free black man is a problem. I remember the guy who graduated law school, and, you know, he got online and he was, you know, pretty much, he's talking his smack about his, you know, degree that he just got, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm sure that he went through a bunch of shit while he was in law school, probably with women and this and that and the other. Had that been a woman talking that shit, it would have been all good. But, and I have to showcase Dr. O'Neill's comment. Yes, BMI. BMI. Yeah, I know what BMI means. It means black male independence. You know what I mean? And you know, any black man that ain't got no chain on him, you know, it's like, you know, watching Django Unchained and you see Steven, you know, you see Sam Jackson with that look on his face like, who that nigga up on that nag?
Exactly.
Who that nigga up on that nag? That nigga look too free. Put a chain on that nigga. You know what I'm saying? Any autonomous, you know, happiness or joy, to quote you know, Godfrey, is an issue globally for the world to see. It is a motherfucking problem because you, by virtue, just looking at you, your place is in service. You are a slave. You are a slave. You're an uppity nigga. I had a girl call me uppity nigga on Facebook.
Look,
You use words that sound like you read books. You sound like you got an education. And I'm going to tell you, PhD guys, that's the problem that people have with you. Whether it be you, whether it be Doc Johnson, whether it be Dr. Neil, Hood Scholar, all of you guys. See, if you weren't educated, they'll knock you. But they're using the very thing that they're saying you should aspire to knock you. It
man, I'm
doesn't
not
matter.
fighting that battle anymore. Like at this point, like if you don't get if you don't come to an understanding that, you know, we're not your enemy, if you don't know that by now, then you know you can kick rocks. Don't come to my format. Just click off. If you think that I'm trying to exploit black men in the manosphere to present myself as, you know, some sort of king, you know, some boss figure that's running, you know, the manosphere and trying to run everybody else off. If you think that's what I'm about, you already got me misconstrued. You'll never get me. Okay. And also, you know, look, you can't, on the one hand, you know, have all this animus for Pookies and Ray Rays, but then also have the same kind of animus for people who are the polar opposite of that. Like what you, it's like you're asking for mediocrity. You're begging for mediocrity. That's ridiculous to me. I just, you know, so I'm not trying to defend my own existence anymore. If you don't like it, kick rocks, man. You know, all I'm here to do is to help and work on behalf of justice issues related to black men and boys. That's it. If you don't see that by now, you'll never see it. So I don't have to justify my position or existence. And neither does anybody else, right? But at the end of the day, man, black men, you know, they have to understand that this is a shitty deal for them all across the board. Relationships are a shitty deal because of what a woman can do. That's the problem. It's the policies that are the problem. Like, there's always going to be conflicts between men and women. It's the power that they wield because they have access to state-sponsored institutions that will come after your ass.
Listen, bro.
The family court will come after your ass. The criminal court will come after your ass. You know, child support enforcement agencies will come after your ass. Corporations will come after your ass. Cancel culture will come after your ass. So it's a shitty deal. And the side piece now, man, the exploitation of black men over their deaths is just absolutely, positively, morally egregious. This will be looked at as the nadir of so-called black female activism. It can't be anything but that. You got a group, you got Tamika Mallory selling Cadillac trucks and shit.
Oh, yeah, I see.
Like, I mean, come on, man. Like, if this is not ridiculous, that's why if you don't know the history of black struggle and how, like, the last poet said the revolution will not be televised. It definitely ain't gonna be monetized. Not like that. It's ridiculous.
Man, it's no different than the dude selling crack to give out turkeys on Thanksgiving. Listen, bro, there's no desire for community on the female end because it would require them to give up power.
But this is why.
That's me.
But this is why BMI, what Ronald Neal says, is important. They want you to exist in such a way that your benefits accrue to them. I've witnessed this in real time. If you're doing well, they feel like, okay, that benefit that you have, what you've acquired and put your effort and agency into, has to somehow go to one of them to make their lives better, to improve the quality of their lives. But they don't have to do anything to improve the quality of your life. That's the issue that we have. There's no reciprocity in our relationships. There's just give me, give me, give me, give me because I'm me.
And because you're a man.
Man, that shit is over with. There's always been an understanding between men and women that there is reciprocity in the context of a relationship. This is the issue that we're having. Now there is none. There's no expectation that a woman should do anything for a man other than to give him a whole bunch of fucking issues and problems. They're not supposed to cook food anymore. They're not supposed to wash clothes, do any housework, because of course you're exploiting them with the housework. Okay? This shit is out of control. But you're supposed to get your ass up if there's a bump in the night and go risk your life to make sure everything is okay. If there's a flat tire, you're supposed to get off your ass, stop what you're doing wherever you are, and make sure that that problem is solved. There's nothing that they can do for you at the current moment respectfully and honorably without them feeling as if they're somehow subjecting themselves to something that is beneath them.
Check this out. We're being charged by Black women for the raising of our own children. We're being charged for domestic work in our own homes. You got women who feel like they want to be married and they want you to pay everything, right? They want you to pay everything while they make a salary. They're making a salary. And it's funny that Chance Rogers say equally yoked, and these girls think that equally yoked means or has anything to do with salaries. They are the biggest abusers of phrases and words with already established definitions that I've ever seen. They will bastardize these quotes and bastardize these phrases and words with definitions. But again, these are women that not only will they charge you to raise your own kids, and not only will they charge you for domestic duty, they'll charge the kid. These are women that we see when we talk about, kids who grow up, to the age of 18 and have to pay into the household, pay rent and things of that nature. We typically say parents, but what we really mean to say is women. What we really mean to say is Black women. I would venture to say that most Black children that have had the experience of the first dollar that they got from working a job or whatever that they had to give to their mother to pay into the household, that was a single mother situation. I would venture to say that most of the time that's what it is. That is not something typically that dads do. Not typically. Okay? So, again, these women are mercenary in a way where it's all about them, especially when it comes to money. And they have earned the title, and they hate it. of being materialistic. They've earned that. They've earned it very well, and it's all in pursuit of trying to be, a white woman clone in America.
Yeah,
Birkin
man,
bag, Chanel this and Louis
bruh.
that.
I saw that picture. I saw that picture of Serena Williams, man.
Yeah.
My jaw dropped to the floor, bro. I'm like, oh my God, is this Serena Williams? She looks like Sammy Sosa.
No, she look. You know what she looked like? Remember white girls?
The Dame of the Wayans brothers, man.
She looked like.
It's ridiculous. Like
Yo,
they're not even trying to hide this shit, bro.
yo,
Like
that's crazy.
the average black woman has body dysmorphic disorder. Okay, from their hair all the way down to their skin tone. Okay, they have that issue going on. They imagine themselves as honorary white women. This is an issue, man. But here's the deal: they can never be white women. They can never attain that because they're the antithesis of it. They produce niggers. They are the progenitors of niggers. They give birth to niggers. Okay, now this is the truth. I know black women don't want to hear this shit, but they produce nigger babies, man. And I've never look. Here's the thing. I did videos on this. Black women are defanging their sons.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And you can talk about slavery related to this issue. Okay, how I'm gonna beat his ass and put him in line and make him submissive, and let you know that you ain't gotta kill him, massa. It could be altruistic, the reasoning behind this, or it could be envy, and the motive. I mean, the motives could be more pernicious in scope and range. But at the end of the day, no group of women collectively as a whole are defanging their boys the way black women are. This has to stop. This has to end. This is how genocide works. This is how this works. Okay? And I mean, look, I made another video about this. White men lost the Civil War and were humiliated by the North. White women started erecting statues to honor the men who lost.
Yeah.
Black men fought on both sides, but primarily the Union side, and won. And you'll see barely any indication of appreciation from black women related to black men's sacrifice in order to help bring about a greater amount or quality of freedom for black folks as a whole, man. You'll be scant. Where are our statues, man? I mean, you see MLK, street and all this kind of stuff, but where are the statues of the soldiers?
That's a different generation. If you talk to these millennial black women, they would tell you, or they would pretend that there are no, black men that fight for our progress in this country. They think that it is a female-led movement at this point. It's kind of the same way that you have white people who think slavery was cool, or it was one way, or it was this way or that way, or we just picked some cotton and there was no beatings, no rape, no this, no that, no murders, no hangings, no burning, right? You have people that believe these things because they've kind of cleaned it up over time. And you have, again, a new generation of black women who think that black women fight for the liberation of black people, and black men just chill on the sidelines. That's, you know, and a lot of that is fueled by media, and you put all these images of black women up in the streets and this and that, and every time you represent the black liberation movement, you show pictures of black women or pictures of black women and their children, and you erase black men from that image, and these women start to believe it. You understand what I'm saying? I'm gonna tell you, a lot of that Breonna Taylor, you know, oh, arrest the cops that killed Breonna Taylor, you know, all of those things, that was a lot of that had to do with you know, oh, we forgetting about Breonna Taylor, where black women feel like dead black men get more media coverage than dead black women. But let's not forget, there are more dead black men than black women when it comes to police violence. It doesn't happen that often that, you know, an unarmed black woman dies in police custody, or at least it happens much less often, and it's reported on less because it happens less. You understand what I'm saying? But they want an equal amount of shine, right? And don't get it twisted. The Breonna Taylors and the Sandra Blands, more so Sandra Bland than Breonna Taylor, because now we know the story of Breonna Taylor. And I'm not saying she deserved to die, but we know the story of Breonna Taylor. But that outrage was really about, you guys get more coverage than we do, and Breonna Taylor is getting forgotten about, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, you know, again, they want to be the face of the liberation and the face of all things positive, and you know, they want to climb up flagpoles and snatch down flags and shit like that, but they don't want that smoke that we get, because we get
they don't get the smoke we get. That's the issue. Like, look, there's a philosopher, man. His name is Charles Taylor. He wrote a book called The Politics of Recognition, Multiculturalism and the Politics of Recognition. Okay. And so what black women are arguing is that, okay, we're not visible. We're not seen. We're invisible. Black men are visible, and that visibility is a privilege. And so my response to that is, look, visible how? As a fucking corpse lying on the pavement for hours? I don't see how that's not a privilege. Sorry.
You have to die for it.
That's not a privilege. That is a gross injustice. And for you to be necro envious is ridiculous. This is why black women are out of order. Some of them, not all of them. But that shit would not play in the 60s, man, or the early 50s. The reason the civil rights, one could argue the civil rights movement, you know, they talk about Rosa Parks and all of this, but Emmett Till and his death was the catalyst more than anything else for the protracted struggle related to the civil rights movement, man. Or you could talk about the Portman, the Pullman porters, you know, in the railroads or whatever the case may be. But look, the reality of the situation is, man, most of the lynchings, most of the incarcerations, most of the beatings and ransackings are done to black men, man. It's black men that have to deal with these issues. And the fact that we can't even talk about it now in order to ensure that women are able to feel good about themselves because they're damseling is a pusillanimous politics. It's plantation politics based on pusillanimity. It's over for that, man. It's done. And black men have to be like, man, fuck your feelings. I don't care about your feelings. I don't care about your visibility anymore. We're dying. And even when we're thriving, we're depressed. But I don't know how to. I don't want to get exhaustive about this, man. But at the end of the day, don't fall on the sword anymore. Fuck it. Do you? You have a right to live your life how you see fit and to keep your resources in your pockets. And you can share your resources with somebody who's interested in building with you. But these women, like Kevin Samuel's show, points out the mind state of entitlement that a lot of contemporary women have in American culture. They just feel entitled to shit just because they exist. They believe that they should have the top percent of men and that they have nothing to offer or no role to play in the benefit of these men's lives.
They
To
feel
them, they're
that
just meal tickets, man. This shit, it's like,
they feel they are the prize.
man, this shit, look, I ain't met a woman yet that ain't been a headache, bruh. I'm just keeping it 100, bruh. I ain't met a woman yet that ain't been a fucking headache, bruh.
Check this out, man.
At some point or the other.
Just like you got white privilege, you know, white people have been told all their lives that they're better than other people to the point where they believe it, right? If you're told something enough times, you begin to believe it, right? I want you to take this into perspective, right? And this is something I say all the time. Imagine being a person, right, who someone will beg that you let them take you somewhere and pay for food and give them the privilege of sitting there and watching you eat it. Imagine being that person.
Man, they know what they know.
We think of it in more simplistic terms than that, but imagine people are busting their ass to do things for you, just to be around you, just for your attention, just for your presence and things like that. You begin to believe it. You begin to believe your royalty. These simp niggas are treating these women like royalty, bro. And they're you know, exuding the entitlement and the attitudes of royalty. Right? That's what we've created, that monster. And when I say we, I mean black men. I don't mean all of us, but again, we were raised to be simps. Not all of us are simps, but a lot of us were raised to be simp niggas. So, you know, if you raise the majority of people one way, you're going to have a few that are going to reject that training, but most will not. And these are the guys that are treating these women like royalty, and the women are responding to that treatment. It's that simple.
Well, you know what, bro? Like, even when they get that type of dude that does all this shit, like Adam Williams says, yeah, you got overweight BBW, beautiful black women, whatever, overweight, big, beautiful black women, whatever the case may be. Even when they get, like, I'm 6'3". You know, I guess I'm moderately decent looking. I'm slim. I'm not a fat, overweight guy.
Yeah, I am. Ian, I will. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Professional man with a doctoral degree. Motherfuckers still wasn't happy. They still found shit to complain about. They still found a way to poke in the pride. Like, if you take one of these bitches out of the hood, put them into the lap of luxury, they still gonna have some shit to complain about. It's like Emmett Smith's ex-wife complained about shit. Like Michael Jordan's wife complained about shit. Okay, they're still gonna have shit to complain about. Dr. Dre's wife, they're still going to have shit to complain about. Okay? So at the end of the day, man, you just got to understand, man. And it's not that these women are going to complain. It's just that the institutions that exist enable them to extract a large amount of resources from you related to old institutional and legal practices and policies that remain, even though the culture has changed. So you got coverture laws. Coverture laws legally are supposed to be laws that protect women when there is like a divorce or when there is some sort of unjust termination between the relationship between a man and a woman, where the man has to be able to take care of a woman who can't take care of herself. But women, they've argued for social and political equality to where they can enter the market like men. And still they want these arcane, anachronistic laws to obtain to still protect them. It can't be sustained. Either you're going to have to say, okay, we're going to pull back and allow men to do what the hell they need to do and to take care of the heavy lifting, and we're going to just be at the crib taking care of the kids. Or you're going to have to say, look, all of the damseling and the shit that y'all do in order to try to curry favor and empathy from men and society at large, that shit is going to have to end. You're going to have to take risk and pull weight just like a man would. I'm in favor of saying, look, I'm going to treat you like a dude. Real talk. Like I'm like Keanu Reeves, man. I'm not coming on to you motherfuckers, none of that. But the funny thing is women come on to you, bruh. These women will come on to you and try to get on to you. And then flip the script and acted, like the thing that they desired and what they wanted wasn't, after all, what they wanted, how they figured it would or should be. I'm just tired of all of the demands with nothing in return. That's it, man. And here's the funny thing, man. When men and women come together, they're supposed to become one, a team. But that shit ain't happening in this culture, man, between men and women, especially black men and women. I ain't saying it never happens, but predominantly it's not happening. You got a bunch of women, man, who going off, having babies and shit, and being like, I'm the one who runs it. And it's become socially acceptable.
Listen, again, it's not the desire. It's not that it can't happen. It's that it's not desired. At this point in time, like I said, we're almost at the 2 hour mark. So I'm gonna start opening this up so we can get some feedbacks in here. But I'm gonna
listen. I'm gonna mute my mic and come in when I feel like it. But I'm about to mute the mic and eat my little sausages. My sausages.
Okay. No
but
doubt.
I'm still here though. I'm still here.
So, shout out to Adam Williams. You got the right idea. I'm gonna throw his comment up on the screen. But again, this is, more or less a non-desire for a black community. You can't fool me. There's no desire from the collective, not individual, but the collective of black women for a black community, because again, for them, that is a hindrance, that is confining, that is a commitment, and they have to, give up power that they have with the way things are to make that happen. See, for the black community to be what it is, they would have to give power back to the men, and it's not something that they want to do. They can say that they want to do it, or they can taunt us like, well, why you ain't build nothing and yada, yada, yada. But it's not something that they want, and they do everything in their power to prevent it from happening. It's just like I said earlier in the racial example, how white people will say, hey, well, get your own and pull up your own bootstraps, but then they'll take your shoelaces. You understand what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, it's something that they disingenuously say that they want to see, but they really don't want to, because it takes freedom away from the situation as it is now. So Brandy B says, so what's the solution? That's Babowski. That's my homegirl that's usually on here with me asking that question. The solution is just like, to me, and just to answer her question, I'm gonna let Ian jump in here. If you're gonna ask me what the solution is, it's just like the solution to racism is white people telling other white people. what it is.
Mm.
All right. So with the solution to this is for black women to call out black women on their bullshit. Straight up. Now, Gigi, I know that you said, yo, it's up to us, et cetera, et cetera. But at the end of the day, like what we need is yeah, I'm trying to add okay, let me add him here. Here he goes. Yeah, so in order for this to really happen the way we want it to happen, we have to have black women call out other black women on their bullshit. But you know what happens is just like with the police, black women tend to support dysfunction in silence, right? So they see other black women acting up, and you know, as opposed to speaking out against it, they support in silence. They don't mean to support, but they don't mean to, like we always say, go against the sisterhood. So they just rather say nothing. Just like the cops who are not crooked, they don't speak against the ones who are, and they end up supporting in silence. And you end up supporting the very thing that you don't want to support by being silent. All right, you got to call the bullshit out. Don't be scared to be called a pick me, because what will eventually happen is the results of those ratchet chicks' behavior will also be visited upon you as a group, and you don't get the bitch and complain at that point. Ian, come on in here.
All right. Yeah, I'm hearing all y'all saying is exactly true. But I wanted to add, and I wanted to posit, BGS just did another video where he's saying potentially the reason for why black women have the mating strategies they have, where they are dealing or are willing to deal with disempowered men, is potentially because they have a African-centered approach to mating, where the whole group is involved in the rearing of the children and the sharing of power. But what I wanted to push back on with what because he had a female Africana studies teacher professor. She's saying, okay, potentially the reason, part of the dynamics that exist in the black community is because women have a certain mating strategy that they are more interested in upholding. So they're not really interested in black male empowerment, because from Africa, Africana studies teachers, which a lot of times is promotion of feminism. They're saying, okay, black women, if they have the choice, they want to go to an African-centered way of community. But I push back on that because of the fact that black women are now using that umbrella, Pan-Africanism, Africana studies. They're using that to empower themselves, to say that no longer is it important to focus on black men in America. They're saying Pan-Africanism is the new black, meaning so we don't have to address the disempowerment of black men in America. We just need to focus on global liberation. And in a lot of ways, that's really just kind of whitewashing and diluting the black struggle here in America, where it really doesn't have to address the power differential inequalities that are going on here.
All right, you want to chime in on that, good doctor? And hey, Dr. Neil, I lost you, man. Try to jump back up in here. I seen you pop up. Yeah, try again, man. I want you in here. If you're not eating your sausages, I'll have you respond to that. But yeah, I agree. I agree with you, Ian, man. Like I said, man, I don't listen to what people say. I watch what they do, and if your actions are not in line with what you're saying, then I'm gonna tend not to believe you. I'm gonna let Dr. Neil speak.
Wait, before Dr. Neil, what's good with you, dog? Hey, look, before Dr. Neil speak, though, I do want to address that situation in that BGS video. Okay. Wait, before Dr. Neil, what's good with you, dog?
Hey, what's
Oh, you got to get rid of the echo.
Yeah, there's the echo.
There's a
Somebody got to cut that YouTube off. I think that's you, Doc.
there's an echo.
Yeah, there's the echo. Yeah, you might got a YouTube.
Somebody got to close their YouTube tab. That's you, Doc. There we go. Okay, so I've seen women make this argument over and over, and I am eating my sausages and shit. But look, I've seen women make this argument over and over again. All that argument is a fucking excuse to exclude black men in the same way that Dr. Neal talked about in that video where he was in front of the church, and in the same way that he was in the video at the public park. These women are trying to find ideological means or to create ideological arguments to justify the excision of black men away from family life. That's all this shit is, man. And even in the matrilineal cultures in Africa, it's matrilineal, but it doesn't mean that it's not patriarchal. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like this whole idea, even in clan-based cultures that are matrilineal, men still have a vital and a functional place within the context of immediate or even extended family life. It's not just a bunch of women running shit. Okay?
Yeah.
This is women trying to justify slave-based culture and to extend it and extrapolate from it so they can do whatever it is they want to do. It has drastic consequences for children, even female children. This shit has a profound impact on. Okay?
Yeah.
This is not balance. It's not my art. If you want to talk about Afrocentric ideas and concepts, this shit is nigga shit. Born straight from the plantation, bruh. This is what this is. Dr. Neal, you go ahead and holler. You talk to him, bro.
I think we might have lost Dr. Neal again. I don't know if it's his connection.
Okay, well, until he comes back. Well, let me say this, and I'm calling bullshit because of the fact is, why is it? Because a lot of people like to make comparisons. I see a lot of posts, talking about how African immigrants are doing compared to black folks. But here's the thing. Why is it that African women have no problem with this patriarchy within their own communities, mind you? Because they'll come into the black community and say something totally different from what they doing at home. But why is it that they don't have no trouble, you know what I'm saying, getting with the program in terms of competing against the Western world? As BJ says, you gotta line up on the field in a defensive formation that's going to be able to stop them. You just can't make your own formation, your own defensive formation, be like, okay, I'm just going to leave that receiver untouched. You know what I'm saying? I'm just going to let that tight end. You know what I'm saying? No, you got to line up according to how your opponent is lined up. You just can't make up your own line in a theoretical sense. You know what I'm saying? So if the Western world is ruling with patriarchy, you can't say, as a black woman, as an educated black woman, you can't be like, you know what? Let me just line up the way that I'm more comfortable. But motherfucker, you let motherfucker score touchdowns. What sense does that make? And I'm like, you can't tell me that African thought is telling you not to use your common sense. You know what I'm saying? You can't give me that. Don't tell me that being African means you don't do what's practically necessary based on the environment you're in. Because I'm positive that if you're really African, motherfucker, you are the most practical individual it is on earth, period. You don't just do things just because you feel like it in the theoretical format.
Listen, man, there's nothing African about what's going on here. And let's also remember that African women come from a different reality than what these girls and these women are born into here. They come from an environment where they actually do need their men. You understand what I'm saying? They need their men, and though that environment, with that environment comes a culture of we need our men, and patriarchy is cool because I ain't got to do what he got to do. Once upon a time, it was like that here until we got industrialized. So when you look at places that are under industrialized and underdeveloped, there's an environmental culture of we need our men, right? Because if these guys are not here, then we have to deal with underdeveloped and under industrialized reality, right?
Mm-hmm.
So at some point, maybe Africa gets industrialized, and that might change a whole lot. See, once you get the air conditioned skyscrapers and all of that stuff, and all you got to do is sit on a computer and press some buttons, this starts to change. Then when leather and suede and all of that starts to surround your environmental elements, the raw elements, the harsh elements of this earth, then your attitude starts to change. To me, my opinion is that we are the middlemen to the things we provide. We are the middlemen, and once dudes understand that, we are resource brokers, okay, to women. When women say, I can secure my own bag, she is essentially saying you were just between her and resources. Okay. So, again, when you look at these women that come from these third world or underdeveloped nations, don't give them too much credit. They're that way because they need to be. Okay, don't give them too much credit. So you understand what I'm saying? Dr. Neil, we are at 2-hour mark. Oh man, I do not want to end this live without this man saying something on this video. I would love him to jump back in here, but let's start with the closing remarks on this. I'm gonna go with Ian first. I want to give Gigi time to enjoy his nourishment.
Oh, I'm done, man. I already ate it, man.
All right, so
I got it in.
yeah, so we're gonna let Ian go first, and then G, you hit it, and hopefully in the time that both of you men speak, we get the good doc back in here before I end this. Go ahead, Ian.
Yeah, man. I mean, I just like to say, man, I seen a debate where you had was it Kaya? She's been on Dr. Johnson's show a couple of times. I'm not saying her name correctly, but she's like she's like an Africana womanist and so on and so forth. So, but I've seen her set up a debate. There's a group over here in Atlanta called Community Movement Builders. I seen the ADOS BTP. I seen a debate where now what these Africana studies are doing to Black men, they're telling Black men that you are only a man if you support a certain theoretical idea of what Blackness is, i.e., Pan-Africanism. So I saw on a debate where these Pan-African men were calling ADOS men basically to call them little boys because they don't subscribe to Pan-Africanist theory. But my thing is, and I did a video on this myself. My thing is this: if you're a real man, you have to understand you build wherever you're at. A real man don't seek, you know what I'm saying, go network without having something in hand to trade with another man. So I would posit you can't be a real man talking about, okay, I'm not going to do anything significant as a man till I go to Africa. You know what I'm saying? And the only way that that he feels that he's going to get support is by the Black women, is if he just bows down to this Pan-Africanist and I would say / feminist theoretical model. But it hasn't produced anything. You know what I'm saying? And that's not how men think and act. Men think, act, and act in terms of what's going to produce. And if it's not producing, then it ain't working.
Okay. So G with the PhD.
Yeah, man. Look, man. All I can say is, man, Black men have been, for the most part, excluded from family life for a variety of different reasons. But I mean, it's just one institution that Black men have found themselves slipping in power. Okay. So if it's the case that, you have state institutions that are going to extract resources from you where you don't have the capacity or the ability to have an unrestricted impact over your child's life, then you've been emasculated. That is an emasculation technique. Okay. And women know that they can emasculate you and separate you and alienate you from your children. So this whole idea, this notion of, women have this mating strategy where, the men are just not present. So they have to take it up. This is where the idea of the black women are the backbone of the community comes from. Right. But that's bullshit. What women are doing are emasculating men and taking away their power in the context of the institution of the family. That's what is occurring. All right. But it's a fucked up notion precisely because those kids are not just your kids, women. They're not yours. They only share part of your DNA. You might labor for those children. You might gestate those children in your womb, but they're no more your children than the man that helped you give birth to them. That's the issue that we have. Like, women feel like these children are their children. Like they're their possessions.
Yeah, I've been saying
it's not a mutual creation between men and women. This is distortion.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is absolute distortion. It's to the point where these women, but this is a result of law, common law in Britain that now is taking precedent in America. And it has never been this way in the entirety of Western culture, but it's this way now. And women are pushing this line, and it's nothing more damaging to the ego of a man than to have his legacy just stripped away from him. Not because of anything reasonable, but just because a woman is trying to flex her nuts. That's the issue. That's the issue black men are having. But we can't even talk about it. We don't even have the language to talk about it, because to even, converse about it means that you're somehow beating up women and making them feel bad. I say, fucking make them feel worse. Because that's a shame, man. This is taking what they consider to be patriarchy and inverting it, and now they're the new patriarchs, man. That's why we say it's a gynocracy. It's the same shit, but it's just different people in the positions. It's no better than what you just left or what you said that you wanted to do away with. It's no different.
Check this out. The fact that women are the automatic custodial parent is an argument against patriarchy in the first place. That is a strong argument against patriarchy. The fact that, women are the primary custodians, like the state automatically gives the kids to women. You have to fight to see your children or for custody of your children in this country. That is a strong argument against the idea that this is a patriarchy. There are countries in this world that you go to where that does not happen, and I can name a few of them. I won't, but I could. And those are the patriarchies, and those are places that women here would not go and would not live for very long with the ideas that they have. You wanted to say something else?
Well, again, I just want to get people to understand that before England enacted the Custody of Infants Act, men, and that was in 1839. That was not that long ago. It's long enough ago, right? But we're talking about less than 200 years ago. In Western culture, men receive full custody of children in divorce cases.
Yeah.
That's over with now because some men in England created an act called the Custody of Infants Act, which reversed that process or that, that particular social practice. Men were considered to be the primary caretakers of children, not women. This is, but now you can't even see it otherwise. You can't even perceive it otherwise. So if a woman wanted to act bad and be like, okay, I'm out here in the streets, okay, holla at you. Go ahead, take your ass on. But you probably won't be protected by anybody else, because if you're not showing faithfulness to the man who you had children with, why is another man going to take you on? You understand what I'm saying? So your reputation would probably be besmirched. But that's a whole nother matter altogether. But anyway, the act basically enabled women just the same way that men petition the court now to get custody of their children. Women had to do the same thing with the Custody of Infants Act. Okay, so they could petition the court like men do now to maintain custody of the children until the age of 7. But in 1873, the English Parliament extended the age to 16. Yeah, and that was called the 10 Years Doctrine.
So
until those acts, that's the undoing of patriarchy. That's my guess. That is the undoing of patriarchy right there. If as it pertains to men having unrestricted control and power over the lives of their children. That's what flipped the balance. This common law in Britain is transposed into common law in America, and this is the prevailing, this is the prevailing principles that prevail in family courts all throughout America. I think it's distorted. I mean, either way, I think. But even in nature, animals don't even operate this way, man. Animals got enough good sense to say, okay, this motherfucker, we got these kids, goddammit, we got to take care of them.
So Dig,
even animals don't do this shit, bro.
Yo, I'm gonna start to close this out, bro. Cause we passed the 2-hour mark. I don't want this to be, the Justice League, the Snyder.
Yeah, okay, I'll let y'all, bro.
You know what I'm saying? So what I'll say in response to you, man, is and then I'll say my closing statement. Women don't have a problem with patriarchy. They just don't want to pay into it. See, because patriarchy has benefits for women. And we know this because they beg for it every day. All the things that they're asking us to do is basically patriarchal. See, patriarch is the father. The patriarch is the guy who comes and takes care of, patriarchy. They think, it's just men running things and having power and telling us what to do and subjugating us. No, patriarchy is also men taking care of women, children, and community. See, it's twofold. See, the abuse of patriarchy is what they're talking about. They are afraid of that, but they want all the benefits of patriarchy, the pay all the bills, provide and protect. All of that is patriarchy. Those are patriarchal functions. They don't have a problem with patriarchy. They have a problem with paying into it and this, this fear that, we will use the power that we are given to be oppressive, right? When most men don't do that. I could go into the men they choose do that, but we ain't gonna talk about that today. Like I said, like I've been saying, I don't in my heart feel that, Black women desire a Black community. They like it the way that it is. Okay. Let me throw Dr. Johnson's comment up here. They want to control patriarchy. I mean, in a way they do. In a way, in the Black community, Black women do control patriarchy. Because they tell Black men who men are and who men aren't, and they set the rules for manhood and masculinity. So in a way that they already do that, and they'll deny you access to your children. They'll deny access to your property that you worked for. They'll take all these things away from you, and they can because they have the power of the state behind them. So in a way, they do control patriarchy, and you got a lot of men in our culture who are aligned with these views and aligned with this way of thinking, who will also be at the ready to, operate in defense of these same women. So when they say what they want from us as far as like what they, this fake community, aspiration, I don't believe them. Again, we are just the brokers of resources. I'm gonna end it
But
there.
Marcus,
You want to say
Marcus, before you go,
I'm gonna let you say one more thing. Cause we two hours.
Because no, but listen, because this idea, right, of them not wanting the whole traditional relationship mating strategy goes into what Gigi said, where the elites ended, the power of the male to hold custody of the child. So what happens is that what the elites have done is basically essentially said that you have to be of a certain class in the country to be able to engage in the traditional roles of male and female, because traditionally, whether or not there's patriarchy or not, and you saw this in Coming to America, when you merge powerful families together, you have to marry between male and female. So no matter whether or not the laws are on the books or not, if you're of a rich class, you're still going to be able to have the benefit of this male and female patriarchal model. So what happens is that Black women have basically essentially said, you know what? I see myself on par with white supremacy. And so I'm making this amount of money. So you need to take me based on my class and my economic status. So they'll do away with patriarchy, but they think that they're going to get it on the back end as long as they're a part of a certain class or income bracket. And so they're playing the game here.
But they want it from Black men.
Yeah.
They want it from Black men.
Yeah.
You understand? Yeah. They want it from Black men. See, I mean, it's been said that what they really are seeking is to go to the other side, but they can't because the other side doesn't really want them. So they're demanding from us what they can't get from over there.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So, I mean, what you said, it makes absolute sense. You know what I mean? Yeah, we gonna jump off of here. Yo, this has probably been the biggest live that I've done on YouTube as far as viewership is concerned, and I got to thank a few people for that. I'm gonna thank the G with the PhD, and I want to thank T. Hassan Johnson for throwing this into the YouTube streets. He pretty much made this party the after party for his party. Because Doc did a live today. T.S.I. Johnson did a live today, and I know he had his crowd there, and he pretty much said, hey, man, let's go to Marcus's for the after party, and he brought the crowd with him, so I appreciate that in a major way. Gigi, you already know what it is. Dr. Neil, I wish we could have got you on, man. You jumped in a couple times. I don't know if it was a signal or what. But shout out to Alonzo Hall, Adam Williams, Unsunken One. And who else we got here? Dr. T. Hassan Johnson, John Public. Who else we got here? The Eloquent Conversation. Enigma Sins. We have, who else we got in here? Dr. Ron O'Neill, Chance Rogers, you, Ian. And I think that's everybody, man. Thanks for jumping in here and rocking with the kid. Oh, the Afro Analyst. All right. I hope I mentioned everybody. I appreciate y'all for coming to my live. I don't need your money, but I do need your likes. Please hit that thumbs up button so I can continue to do this thing. And, if you haven't already, subscribe so that you can get these notifications. And I'll have these brothers back on and we'll keep talking that talk. Yeah, man. So that's what it is. Thanks for joining me. This was Falling on Swords, keeping it 100. All right. Holla at you later. 100.
Peace.
Peace.
100.